You've tuned in to TC McCarthy, the most handsome and entertaining science fiction author on video. Thanks again for watching. Pick up or pre-order my book that'll come out in July of 2019. It's called Tyger Burning from Bain Books. Pre-ordering helps me get on the bestsellers list. I did a video here, pew pew, why that's important and how that works. But in any case, if you've watched my earlier videos in this series, the Tyger Burning series, you know that I do a lot of research. I do a lot of research on alien life forms. I do a lot of research on interplanetary travel methods, the dangers of interplanetary travel, what the different planets in our solar system consist of and why it would be important to us. And I go outside our solar system and start taking a look at interstellar travel and the kinds of planets we might encounter outside of our solar system. But one of the things I like doing research on the most are future weapon systems. That's really what future weapon systems. That's really what interests me the most. And so I really do a lot of work on trying to figure out the science behind different weapons, whether it's weapons involved in ship-to-ship combat or person-to-person combat. So one of the more recent videos I've done, takes a look at missiles and how that will form the future of ship-to-ship combat, how they will stay with us way into the future. And in this case, I'm going to do a video that covers a number of different weapon systems. And here, I'm going to go back to my favorite. I'm going to touch on this really quickly, but let's talk again about missiles. Missiles, in one form or another, have actually been with us for over 1,000 years. But in terms of future combat, go look at that video that I did. They're going to still be with us. You know, our concept of ballistic missiles started with the kind of V-2 rockets in World War II. And since then, we've graduated to air-to-air missiles, surface-to-air missiles, advanced forms of ballistic missiles. And I have no doubt that as we go into the future and start exploring different planets and take our wars outside of the planet Earth to other planets in space, that we're going to still see missiles. Those are just, they're so nice, they're so compact, and they're so easy to basically guide these days that I really have a hard time believing that they'll ever go away. But what about Mayhem? Now, this is a cool concept. This is one I've looked at for a while. It's not a new concept. It's not one that I came up with. But DARPA, way back when, it's no new concept that basically you can take shaped charges and machine them to precise kind of shapes. And when you explode them, it turns metal inside into a jet of molten metal that then penetrates armor, rock, whatever. It's a fantastic kind of weapon if you want to break through some sort of armor surface and get to occupants inside. Mayhem is a different concept, however, and Mayhem stands for magnetohydrodynamic explosive munition. Instead, in this case, instead of using explosives to form the actual shaped charge, the jet of molten metal, you use basically a really intensely strong magnetic field. It gives you higher efficiency, more precision in terms of sending basically a stream or a lance of molten metal at the intended target. You could accurately time multiple jets, so imagine a machine gun of molten jets of metal. And in fact, DARPA, I think, credits Arthur C. Clarke for the concept originally. I think in his book Earthlight and in some of his other books, he describes this mega weapon that uses these intense electromagnetic fields to shoot streams of molten metal at spaceships. And it essentially cuts them in half. I'm going to go ahead and read quickly from this one book that Arthur C. Clarke wrote, and it's Earthlight, and it's where he's talking about how one of these weapons was used to target a spaceship called the Leth, or the Lethe, L-E-T-H-E. In utter silence, the battle was rising to its climax. Millions of years ago, the molten rock had frozen to form the Sea of Rains, and now the weapons of the ships were turning it once more to lava. Out by the fortress, clouds of incandescent vapor were being blasted into the sky. Wheeler saw it strike upward, a solid bar of light stabbing at the stars. He did not have time to reflect on the staggering violation of the laws of optics which this phenomenon implied, for he was staring at the ruined ship above his head. The beam had gone through Lethe as if she did not exist. The fortress had speared her as an entomologist pierces a butterfly with a pin. That would be intense, and I can't think of a better, cooler weapon than one that sends multiple jets of molten metal capable of piercing a starship, cutting it in half, etc. Now you've also got this ongoing concept of high-energy lasers that can be used for point defense. For example, there's one called the Tactical High-Energy Laser, FEL, and people have looked at this. This is old also. DARPA, I don't know if it's DARPA, but the DoD looked at this as a point defense mechanism to hit incoming artillery shells. So it's been used to target and hit Katyusha rockets, mortar shells, artillery shells, etc. Pretty cool in the concept of point defense. It's just that lasers don't really get me excited. Don't ask me why, but yes, they will form, they will be in the repertoire of space weapons. All right, what about weaponized satellites? Well, there's a million different varieties of weaponized satellites, but the one that really interests me is this one that carries the concept of the rods from God. Massive telephone pole-sized tungsten, basically, penetrators that get dropped from orbit and hit the ground at such speed, 10 times the speed of sound, with such a large mass that it's essentially the same thing as a nuclear explosion, but without the fallout, without dirtying up the ground. People could move in and use it, live there, etc. And in fact, I used that concept in one of my earlier books. I'll put the picture of the cover here. Pew! Germline, where instead of tungsten rods, it was essentially smaller tungsten spheres, so that the concept could be used in more tactical applications. Rather than destroying a massive area, it could be used against personnel formations, etc. Now, the interesting thing is that one form of this, called the lazy dog, was actually used in Vietnam, where planes bombing from up above would drop basically steel rods, heavy steel rods from a great enough height, so that by the time they hit the ground, they were traveling with enough speed that they would cause a lot of damage on the ground and penetrate deep into the ground. That's the other nice thing about this approach. These rods from God, they would be perfect for targeting underground structures. If you're going 10 times the speed of sound and you're a telephone pole-sized piece of tungsten, you're going to go way, way far into the ground, probably farther than you would if you just lobbed a conventional nuke from one country to another. And then finally on the list is manipulating an asteroid. I talked in one of my earlier episodes, about how we could use asteroids for different things when it comes to mining or building spaceships. We could also use them as weapons. If you think you can move an asteroid from one location to another where it can be used to construct spaceships, well, it's only one step further when you use that asteroid to basically bombard Earth or a section of Earth with some massive piece of rock that could destroy an entire nation. Just think, I hated the movie, but just think Starship Troopers when the bugs were basically sending asteroids to destroy cities on Earth. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you believe me now when I say I do a lot of research when it comes to the weapon systems that my characters encounter in space and transmission. Hey, TC McCarthy here, the most eclectic and entertaining science fiction author on YouTube, maybe even the internet. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. As usual, buy my books. I've got a new one coming out in July, and I'll have a giveaway coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. Appreciate you subscribing to my channel, and please, 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 please don't forget to click that little bell icon so that whenever I upload new content, you get notified. Thanks again. See you soon.